So, the closed alpha for Battlefield 5 is now live, and the servers are just rammed with players trying the game out and testing all the things, including me. A big thanks to EA for giving me an access code so I could get my hands on the game as well. Everyone's getting their first taste of what is a totally different direction for the franchise when you compare the game to its predecessor. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you my first impressions of the closed alpha and talking about some of the changes that DICE has made based on community feedback. Now, to catch people up, if they weren't fully aware, the closed alpha is a PC-only affair, and the selection process for who gets in is almost completely random. Battlefield Game Changers were handed out codes, so you will see plenty of videos and live streams over the next week or so, but outside of that, the selection process was almost completely random. You needed to be signed up to receive emails from EA about the Battlefield franchise through your Origin account, otherwise EA wouldn't be allowed to email you, so if that was switched off for you, then that's likely the reason that you didn't get a chance to get a code. There are a few giveaways being conducted by the Battlefield stream team on Twitch throughout the day today, but EA made it clear to me at least when I asked them about it, they are heavily focused on this alpha being a test. They say they're not trying to use it as a huge marketing opportunity, but it is still a marketing opportunity because codes were given out to big content creators, but they are pushing hard through social media for players to give feedback. If you got access to the alpha, I'll leave a link down in the description for you that will take you to the Battlefield forums, so you can leave your feedback, any bugs or any issues like that. That's linked down in the description for you. Okay then, let's talk about what's changed from the previous build of Battlefield 5 that you saw most recently at EA Play, and I'm going to start with reviving. Now, lots of people mentioned that during the EA Play gameplay that I showed off, they couldn't see the revive icons for their team and squad, and they really weren't very obvious during gameplay. It was totally correct of you to point out that they weren't there because there was a bug not showing the icons. Here in the closed alpha, however, those are well and truly visible, and to my complete surprise, lots of people are actually reviving their teammates. Despite the fact that it takes significantly longer than in Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 4 to revive players here in Battlefield 5, plenty of medics are making attempts to complete revives, which is just great to see. It's a huge element of squad play and a big element of team play as well, so the fact people are going out of their way to do it is really cool. Now, I haven't seen too many buddy revives being conducted. That's the revive that any squad member can perform on other squad members, but that might be due to a bug in the alpha at the moment. Squads aren't being populated properly at the moment. If people leave after a round ends, that squad won't be filled back up again, so only the first round of 5 that I played today did I have a full squad at the beginning. I did get a couple of buddy revives in then, and I got one back as well, which was really cool. It was great to see that the squad were actually working together, but after that round, 3 of my squad members left, which obviously in Battlefield 5 means it's only me left in a squad. Battlefield 1 had 5-person squads, but in Battlefield 5, we've gone back down to 4-player squads. As it turns out, the developers were aware of some bugs with the squad system before the alpha went live. They didn't have time to fix it, so instead of doing that, they simply disabled the system entirely, so the squad you get after your first round of joining the alpha is the only squad you will get until you leave and restart the game and jump back in again. That's the only way to get back into another squad, but they're hoping maybe an update could come out in the next few days to patch that in if they can get it working whilst the alpha is running. It may well be that the squad system doesn't entirely work for this closed alpha. Next, I want to move on to player visibility. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this is a bug in the closed alpha or if this is a new feature of the game, but now when you look in the direction of enemy players, a red icon will appear above their head to let you know that it's an enemy. If you look away from them, the icon then disappears, or if they go behind cover, the icon disappears. Now, this sort of goes directly against DICE's choice to keep the HUD nice and clean and to make spotting very bespoke, and really restricting it to the gadgets in Battlefield 5. This goes directly against that. Whatever the case may be, it did, in the closed alpha, 100% improve the visibility of the game, and the icon also included the class that the soldier was playing, so you knew what class you'd be going up against. And that's another big concern from the EA Play gameplay that I showed you guys. Now, I feel this might well be a bug at the moment. There doesn't appear to be a maximum range at which the icon stops appearing, so even if you're an assault player, you can look at somebody over 100 meters away and the icon will appear above their head. That doesn't really feel like that's intended. This may well be the start of a new system where if you look at an enemy player that's close to you, a red icon will pop up. It also seems the icons are only visible to you, since you're not actually spotting anybody, you're just looking in their direction. And it did help improve visibility, but it was very, very powerful, because again, it just lit people up like a Christmas tree, and I could aim at the icons and know I was going to hit somebody, which, as I've said, goes directly against what DICE is trying to do with spotting in Battlefield 5, so I really do think this is a bug, or potentially it's the start of a new system that's going to get changed further down the line. Whatever the case may be, it did make it much easier to see people in the closed alpha. Now, having just spoken about the improved visibility here in the closed alpha, I do want to go back a little bit and talk about the snow effect that was extremely heavy during the EA Play build of the game. That has been toned down quite a bit, which is a very good move, and it's a good start, but I still think it's a little bit too heavy. And this time, when I'm talking about it being too heavy, it's the size of the snow particles that fall in front of your face. Obviously, the further the particles are away, the smaller they get, but the starting size of these particles are quite big, and they can really obstruct your vision when you're looking at longer range kills. Here on the Narvik map, if you go into more close quarter areas like the town section, which is the C flag on Conquest, you end up with the snow particles all sort of collecting together and moving in larger sections, and that tanked my frame rate down below 60 FPS. And I'm running on a 6-core i7 processor, a GTX 1080 Ti, and 64GB of RAM at 1440p resolution, so it's not like my PC is underpowered here. Of course, this is all pre-release code. I'm sure the map hasn't had all of its passes completed yet, but it is worth noting that the more intense the snow gets, the worse your performance gets. Alongside that statement, I'm just not a fan of effects or visuals over gameplay. I couldn't care less if the game looked graphically worse if the trade-off was significantly better performance. For reference, I changed my graphical settings to medium, I turned off motion blur, and switched off all of the added effects that I could, like film grain, chromatic aberration, vignette, and even more. Performance isn't great at the moment, and especially in those more closed areas right now where there are lots of snow particles getting in the way, but I expect it will get better after the alpha and DICE have enough data to start tweaking things. Now, something I didn't mention too much from the EA Play build was the lack of grenade spam. Yippee, finally DICE seem to be getting it right. Due to the scarcity of ammo, and that in this build there are so many more varied playstyles and decisions being made by lots of different players, it is extremely noticeable that there are not that many grenades being thrown by players on the map. You spawn in either with 1 lethal grenade or 2 smoke grenades, and that's your lot unless you can find an ammo crate from a support soldier or a resupply station on a flag so you can get your grenade back. It makes Battlefield 5 an absolute joy to play as an infantry soldier without having to worry about grenades just flying all over the place. However, I'd still like to see DICE change the way grenades work back to Battlefield 3's system with a proper throwing animation and the fuse starting when you pull the pin on it, as opposed to the fuse just starting the moment the grenade hits the ground. Back in Battlefield 3, calculating the arc of a grenade and estimating the time that it takes for it to explode was one of the best parts of the grenade gameplay because it made them more skillful and effective at flushing out players, and if players didn't move, 9 times out of 10 that grenade was going to explode and probably kill them. Here in Battlefield 5, there's still sort of throw and forget grenades, although the fuse timers are significantly longer than they were in Battlefield 1, and that means you should be able to escape their deadly blast radius a lot more often. So DICE are moving in the right direction, but honestly, I'd still like to see some more improvements made. And then, arguably, one of the biggest changes since the EA Play build, the addition of the Conquest game mode. DICE chose to add this mode into the closed alpha alongside the grand operation that we saw at EA Play, which combines that new airborne game mode on day 1 and day 2 on the breakthrough game mode. But Conquest instead supports a full daytime setting, and you've got 6 flags laid out across the map for teams to fight over. The old Conquest majority rule is back, so only one team can bleed the other team's tickets at any one time, and this means the chances of comebacks late in the round by losing teams is much, much greater. And I did experience a very, very close near comeback by the losing team in my 4th round that I played today. The losing team came within just 4 tickets of claiming victory after capturing 3 of our flags late on and just tanking our score. It was actually really awesome to experience that again after such a long break from that kind of feeling back in Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3. I'd argue most of those really close games didn't really happen in Battlefield 1, and that feeling that you get starts to get more and more tense at the end of rounds when the score's getting closer and closer together. If one team is really bleeding the other team's tickets, that can feel really, really awesome, and it did get very hectic towards the end of that round. I know I've already mentioned them, but the scarcity of ammo and lack of health regen again came in to this Conquest game mode and drastically changed things up. They stopped players from just running blindly from flag to flag, aggressively trying to capture everything. There was a lot more defensive gameplay going on, and a lot of people using the new fortification system as well, which meant every time you went back to a flag, it did look very, very different. At least at this early stage, things are looking very good for the Conquest game mode in Battlefield 5. It does appear to have been returned to its former glory from Battlefield 4 and previous games. In terms of an overall general feeling about Battlefield 5, I'm really, really liking it right now. The biggest thing I will say is that there is a gigantic change in direction in this game from Battlefield 1, and that might leave you feeling a little bit polarized the first time you play it. My first 2 rounds today, I just jumped in and played as if this was Battlefield 1, and things did not go very well. Leaving your squad means you're very vulnerable, and the limited ammo means you might only have 1 or 2 gunfights before you need to drop back and reconsider. But once you start to embrace all of the mechanics and all of the tools that Battlefield 5 gives you, rather than fighting them and forcing your old playstyle into this new game, you will start succeeding more and more. Or at the very least, you'll start to experience the game in the way that it was actually meant to be played. I found that rather than moving from flag to flag along the most direct route, taking side routes that allowed me to grab ammo or health along the way resulted in the squad surviving a lot longer, and in later games when the squad bug meant I was on my own and I didn't have anyone to rely on, I could still go along those paths and hold my own for quite a severe amount of time just by knowing where I could go to get ammo and health if I absolutely needed it. So lone wolfing does still exist in Battlefield 5 if you want that kind of action. Some performance bugs did mar the experience somewhat though. Small hitches in the camera spawning movements, breaks in flow when reviving players resulted in me being unable to move my soldier or even move my aim for a second or so after confirming a revive on another player. That became more and more noticeable as time went on, and certainly there was some server lag mixed in with my own client having some latency issues as well. But for the most part, I'd say that 85 to 90% of the time, the game performed perfectly on my system. Of course, your mileage may vary. DICE does need to do some work, but that is exactly what an alpha is for. It's for them to collect data and feedback so they can fix things and improve the game for its final release. But at the moment, for Battlefield 5, things are looking very, very good in my opinion. And so, there you are. That's my first impressions of the closed alpha for Battlefield 5, and I'll be bringing you more gameplay, more coverage, and information over the next few days. I am moving house tomorrow. I know, that's just the best timing ever, isn't it? I'll be offline for about 24 hours or so, but hopefully I'll have a video or 2 for you guys over the weekend, and I'll be playing more of the alpha at my brand new house once I've got my PC and desk set up. Those are the first things that are moving in that van tomorrow. Make sure you leave your thoughts and comments down below in the comments section. Let me know what you're thinking about the closed alpha and some of these changes that DICE has made. And subscribe to the channel with notifications switched on so you don't miss any of my future videos. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.